Satya out here in Singapore, and as always, thank you for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. This is my own personal little space that I've cleared out so I can sit down with my thoughts, kind of gather all of my ideas, and I don't know, process. Really, it's where I process. It's where I document my journey. It's where I get to, discuss some of the ideas that I've come across during my day. Whether it's a conversation, a movie, a music, lyric, post on Instagram. It could be anything. Honestly, I take it from everywhere. But I like the idea that I'm bombarded with so many ideas, mostly because it's constantly got me on my toes. It's constantly got me thinking ahead, wondering what else I could possibly be doing that would improve my life and the lives of those around me. I think it's really important to constantly want to improve. So today I want to talk to you about a post by Lover of the Moon. They are a really great account actually that is intuitive, and they're spiritually based, and they talk a lot about tarot readings and twin flame connections and stuff. And today there was a post that said, normalize allowing red flags to turn you off and make you less interested rather than permitting them to be an invitation to prove your worth and make it work. Oh my gosh. This is something that isn't talked about enough. I think it is a very, very crucial element in any relationship right now, because I think people are of the mindset that once you start dating, whether it's 2 weeks or 2 years or two centuries, because you've already put in the time and you've decided to try it with this person, you are not supposed to give up so easily. You're supposed to try and make it work no matter what. So when it says normalizing allowing red flags to turn you off, I think it's really important. It's like your filter, right? It's the filter of making sure you get rid of nonsense characteristics, habits, mindset issues that may clash with your own, because you can tell right off the bat if something they say kind of upsets you. But a lot of times we chalk it up to, it's a one-time thing. They might be having a bad day. We don't want to, mess it up, because the first couple of dates we're trying really hard to get to the second date or the third date or a follow-up meeting of some sort, because we would rather be attached to somebody than really spend time with ourselves. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's the way things are at the moment. But I would love to change all of that. So when it says normalize allowing red flags to turn you off and make you less interested, I think that is hardcore. I think that's something I really need to drive home, especially with, I have a young daughter growing up in front of me here. And I think if I were to teach her anything, I think that would be the number one thing. People will say your standards are too high. You think you're too good for everybody. It's not even like that. I've had people think that I'm stuck up or I'm prudish, that, I'm not as compassionate as they once thought I was. I'm not as accepting of people as they thought I was. They think I'm judgmental, but it's not that at all. If I know who I am, which I've spent about 40 years trying to get to know me, right? If I know who I am and something about you makes me uncomfortable, makes me feel like, I've been down this road before and it didn't end well, I should probably run. It should be okay for me to distance myself from you. It should be okay, because you respect who I am, for me to be able to say no, or to reduce the amount of communication we have. If I don't feel comfortable enough to say, hey, you know what, I'm just not gonna, push for another meeting with you. Now, in the realm of speed dating, this is acceptable, because the idea is to get through as many dates as possible to see if you meet anybody that might be worth your time. But not everyone goes through a speed dating situation. Most of us go through, let's actually try and date. And they'll date multiple people at the same time. And we find that we like one thing about this person and another thing about the other person. And it's hard for us to let go of any one connection, right? So when it says the red flags should actually, in fact, turn you off and make you less interested, that's really true. But how many of us do the opposite? And that's the second half of this post. It says, rather than permitting them to be an invitation, as in the red flags to be an invitation to prove your worth and make it work. I have had so many people come to me and say, and I've been in this situation too, come to me and say the person that they were interested in said that they're not actually interested in a relationship, but they like to, screw around for a while. As much as that sounds maybe appealing to some people, I don't know, some people think it's appealing. It's not appealing to me. I don't want that kind of a connection, because I know for a fact to be completely naked in front of another person, for them to touch your body, to experience you in that raw form, is a different kind of intimacy. And it gives you the idea that they appreciate your body for what it is. It gives you the idea that you are so special. And it's hard not to catch feelings, because our minds are so hardwired like that. We want the connection, and there's no closer connection than to be completely naked in front of each other, holding each other, trying to please each other or pleasure each other because you're in that moment paying attention to everything. You're paying attention to their sounds, the way their, skin goosebumps at certain touches. You're so focused on that person, it's hard not to catch a feeling because you've paid so much close attention. So when someone says, they are not interested in a relationship, if that's what you're looking for and they're not, that should be a red flag and say, you know what, cool, we'll talk maybe, but I'm going to move this way and try and find somebody else. You are eliminated, basically. You're fired. But we don't do that. A lot of times they'll tell you why they're not looking for a relationship. Maybe they just got out of a relationship. Maybe it was a really bad breakup. Maybe they got out of a relationship 5 years ago and they still not over their ex. But here you are thinking, oh, but you ain't never dated me before. You've never met a girl like me before. I bet you I could change all of that for you. And so what do? And this is a previous podcast episode. We start to look at them like a project. I bet I could fix the way you think about these kinds of people if you just dated me. If I put in a little bit more effort here, if I show you that, you get my attention because I'm interested in proving to you that I'm worthy, they're going to drink up all the attention. And at the end of the day, you look like a sucker, right? So instead, how do we teach our young people that red flags are red flags for a reason? Yellow lights at a stoplight are yellow for a reason. Red lights mean stop. Run. Go the other direction. Yellow lights mean, okay, you know what? You need to ask a couple more questions. Maybe the communication is not clear here. You're thinking one thing, they're thinking another. Y'all should probably talk some more. Not everything is meant to be a green light. Could you imagine if everything was meant to be a green light? But I want people to stop feeling guilt or shame about not feeling comfortable with the other person. I'll give you an example. There was a young man that used to strike up conversations with me on the internet. They used to write on all my posts. They used to show support. They used to speak to me, in the DMs to say, that they appreciated the work that I was doing. They thought that what I was doing was valuable. And initially, I had this sneaking suspicion that they were just trying to get attention from me because some people will comment just to get you to respond back to them, right? And I'm just brought up with good manners. If you write to me, I'm going to write back to you just to let you know that, hey, I saw your post and thank you. I appreciate the comment or whatever. If we strike up a conversation, we can actually talk about things outside of, whether the post was good or not, then great. I welcome friendships. So I thought nothing of it. And there were a couple times before where he said something that made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel like he was trying to control me or manipulate me or trying to check up on me or find out where I was at every moment. It was a matter of him happening to run across me. I mean, if you meet me in the street, that's fine or whatever, but he met me in the street, he didn't say anything. Then he wrote to me and then he posted something and I was like, okay, this is a little strange. And so I kind of fell off from communicating with him for a little while. I did not feel comfortable enough to say, hey, you know what? That freaked me out. I don't want to talk to you because I didn't want to hurt that person's feelings either. So I just, hope they'd get the hint and I kind of reduced the amount of communication I made with that person. But eventually he insisted and we sat down for a cup of coffee. I have no problem meeting people in person. I have no problem with that, but I'm going to always choose a public place because it's for my safety as well. I'm going to always choose a place where it's familiar for me. It's easy for me to get out if I really need to get out very quickly. I'm not about to put my own safety at risk for anybody. And it seemed like a great conversation at the time. And, I thought we were talking about, lifestyle and he was in the army and he was just talking about, how he loved his parents. He was really close to his parents, run-of-the-mill conversation stuff or whatever. And then all of a sudden when we got up to leave, I gave him a hug and I walked out the door and he asked me where I was going next after this. And I said, I'm going to another place to see if I can't find, a specific grocery item that I had been looking for. And he said, oh, I know that place. I'll walk you. And I said, no, it's actually really okay. I'd like to, clear my head a little bit before I get there. I'll find my way. It's all right. I've got GPS anyway. And he insisted. He did not insist just once or twice, but he insisted 3 or 4 times. And I finally said, no, actually, I want to be by myself for a while. And he forced me into a situation where I had to tell him that I was not comfortable. Since then, he used to message me every so often and just see how I was and, comment on my posts like he used to, but I no longer feel comfortable around you. And so I removed my energy from your field on purpose because I did not want you to get the impression that we were anything other than acquaintances on social media anymore. But for some reason, they thought something else of it. So instead of allowing the red flag to turn them off, because I was no longer communicating, I was not even answering his messages anymore. I would see it and delete it. He allowed it to become a challenge for him to insist some more, to pursue some more, to the point that I had to actually sit there and tell him, which I felt terrible about, but I finally had to tell him, I don't feel comfortable around you. You don't seem to understand that when I say no, no means no. It's a full sentence, full stop, no explanation needed, because you insist on trying to get your way anyway. And if you can do that simply about, letting me go somewhere we're not even dating, can you imagine what would happen if we were ever in a dating situation and I wanted you to leave when you were over at my house or, something, or I wanted to leave when I was over, hanging out with you and you wouldn't let me? That would be a terrifying situation for me. So in those regards, it seems like a lot of times when someone else says no, we take it as a sign to be like, no, but I bet you I can convince you. I'm guilty of it too. When it comes to food, sometimes I have friends of mine that will say, I will not eat a vegetable. You can't make me. And I'd be like, I bet you I can. I'm going to puree that shit. You can't even pick it out of the food. I bet you will. And yes, that is my way of trying to make sure you're healthy. But in some regards, that's also me violating something that you've told me that you would rather not do. So as difficult as it is for us to allow things to be a full stop no comment, we tend to take it upon ourselves to prove that no, but you ain't never met somebody like me before. So I hope this makes sense. It's a turbulent way to look at this kind of an idea, but I think red flags are there for a reason. And honestly, if I'd paid attention to the red flags way back when I met my first boyfriend in college, when I met my, my ex-husband, when I met a couple of the guys here in Singapore that I've spoken to every so often or whatever, if I had noticed the red flags early on, I probably would not have allowed myself to get involved to a point where I could get hurt, where I could get attached to any ideas that would end up hurting me in the end, that would throw me off my own pedestal at the end of the day. So, ladies, gentlemen, all of you people out there, if you're listening to me, please clearly hear this. Normalize allowing red flags to turn you off and make you less interested. It's okay to be less interested. It's okay to say, yeah, you're not for me, I'm going to move on. Rather than permitting the red flag to be an invitation to prove your worth or to find a way to make it work. Okay? I hope that made sense. It was kind of harsh tonight. I have gotten myself into so much trouble over this concept because I myself will take it upon myself as a challenge. And so I don't want you to end up making the same mistakes I did. It's okay to not be interested anymore. It's okay to be turned off by something they do. Even if 70,000 things that they do is great and this one thing, and it's a major thing, turns you off, it's okay to walk away. This goes doubles for people who have ever been in abusive relationships. Just because they're great all the time and then once in a blue moon, they drink or they fly into a rage and they raise their hands, it does not make it okay. That is a major red flag. Get out then. Don't allow it to happen one time and then let them guilt you into keeping them around because they think that you might call the cops just like everybody else. They'll guilt you into thinking that you're just like, the people they've encountered before, realizing full well that they are the problem, but they want you to take pity on them or prove to them that you're better than the other people that they've ever encountered because they actually need you more than you need them. So seriously, people, red flags, they're there for a reason. Pay attention. Let them know it's a red flag. Let them know it's a deal breaker because it's okay to have deal breakers. It doesn't make you a bad person to have high standards. All right. It's for your own protection. So hope this helps. Let me know in the comments what you think and I'll catch you again soon. Bye.